at Motilal Oswal Financial Services joining us on the show. Rahul, hi morning and thanks for your time. Lots to talk about, so let's get started with the biggest earnings that we've seen yesterday coming in from the only nifty company that came out with its earnings yesterday. That was Titan. All in all, if you account for the one-off that we've seen in Titan, it looks like a beat versus our estimates. But help us understand, how should one look at these numbers if you don't account for the one-off? And operationally, how does the quarter look barring this one-off?
Hi, good morning. I think if you look at the Titans number yesterday, I think in terms of this quarter and last quarter as well, I think one segment which has been doing very well in the entire retail segment, if we talk about, is I think the jewellery segment. And I think we've seen in the numbers of Titan as well as the numbers given by Kalyan as well. So I think if I look at the kind of numbers, kind of growth, and if I remove the one-off, then I think the numbers were in line with what the street was estimating and what we were estimating. So I think what street is looking at right now is, I think, where there's a visibility of earnings, where there's sustainability of earnings. So I think the kind of the growth, I think, way the Titan is going on. So my sense is, I think one should definitely look at and have allocation in the portfolio post numbers.
That's the take on Titan. But here's an ET Now news break which got confirmed last evening, and RBI has granted an in-principle approval to AU Small Finance Bank to transition into a universal bank. Ankur Mishra, my colleague who broke this story, joins in with more details.
Yes, ET Now Newsbreak has been confirmed, and AU Small Finance Bank will be a universal bank now. Why so? Because Reserve Bank of India has given approval for transition of AU Small Finance Bank to universal bank now, and this approval is in principle. However, remember, the bank had earlier submitted the application for that transition, and that happened last year. And after being 5 years, after completing 5 years of being small finance bank, after getting fulfilled all the parameters, now Reserve Bank of India has given that approval. And which were those parameters? The parameters were rupees 1,000 crore over net worth, which bank is of course holding. Apart from that, the gross NPAs are below 3%, and more than that, even net NPAs are under control and under criteria. Remember, even in the June quarter earnings, the bank had reported a net profit of 581 crore. So all in all, with all the tick marks which it has got within the guidelines of Reserve Bank of India, now AU Small Finance Bank will transition from small finance bank to a universal bank now.
All right, thank you so much, Ankur, for getting us all those details. But Rahul, what's your sense on AU Small Finance Bank getting this approval and now transitioning into a universal bank? How do you think that will impact the financials of the company, and how big a positive is this news?
I think if you look at, I think AU Small Finance Bank in terms of numbers or in terms of the way the growth trajectory the bank has got since last couple of years, if I look at it, and I think this obviously transformation from a to full-fledged universal bank, I think it's a positive for the bank. It helps them to be have more boundaries and more to tap more customers, as well as to raise capital also will become very easy for them. So my sense, I think it's one of our preferred bet also in our portfolio to for investors. So I think with the kind of growth, with kind of trajectory, and plus this positive news, I think one should definitely look at AU Finance in the bank as a part of the portfolio.
Okay, that's AU SFB, the call in that. Sharan, how are the charts looking? Ready for a bump up further?
Yeah, Aisha, I think it was my intraday pick yesterday, but given the volatility, our stop loss got hit, but the stock ended up at day high. And again, today is looking very good on the charts. Definitely, you can see some kind of gap up. It has a small resistance around 755 odd levels. I think if it starts moving above that, it has a gap to fill. It can reach 785 and 790 odd levels. So on the charts, good consolidation, good news coming up. So I think you can expect a good gap up and go kind of opening with AU Small Finance.
Okay, so that's the take on AU Small Finance Bank, looking attractive both fundamentally on the charts. But Rahul, want to get your sense on Eternal after the block deal that we've seen happening yesterday. It's in line with their strategy to keep the company an Indian-owned and operated entity. How are you seeing the kind of moves we've seen recently on Eternal, given that their quarter one was slightly mixed? And how do you think the growth is for the entire quick commerce, quick delivery sector going ahead?
So I think if you look at, again, repeating the same thing, I think the domestic theme looks very interesting, and I think it remains unaffected in terms of the global noises, what we hear. So I think what we are seeing in the markets is the domestic theme story will continue to do well. And obviously, we've seen the defensives and the platform stories of the stocks, which have been very well in the markets in last couple of quarters. So Eternal is also one of them. Numbers were in line with what Street was estimating. I think post numbers and a better commentary, I think we saw the stocks moving up also 15% post the numbers. So I think the hangover of the that block deal for quite some time obviously was a hangover for the company, but now post that I think it's clear. So I think one should definitely look at Eternal, one of the preferred bets for trading as well as investment. One should look at buying at this levels.
But Rahul, do you think there could be better alpha for a Swiggy perhaps? And now with its MSCI inclusion as well, do you think there is more valuation comfort in Swiggy than Eternal?
So if I compare both, I think the valuation comfort is more on the Eternal side than the Swiggy. But if, as I said, that at the markets, we are seeing a fancy in the entire platform stocks, and this will continue to do well. So I think Swiggy also as a part of the allocation one should do. But if I have to select between the one, then I think Eternal plays a better role in this.
All right, so let's watch out for these counters, but along with that, the MSCI rejig could also be through today. And given the way PSU banks have come out with their numbers so far, what is looking attractive from this group of stocks?
So I think most important if you look at the trend of the PSU banks, I think the NIMs have shrunk for most of the banks. I think if you look at the N plus, there have been a stagnant quarters and quarter on quarter as well on that front. So I think that's the most important thing we should look at in State Bank's numbers as well. And second, I think most important is commentary and the way the kind of the growth trajectory path what we have for the next 1 year or so, or maybe looking like this quarter and in this, what we've been hearing in the global noises. So what most of the private banks numbers, if you look at least in the large space, HDFC and ICICI, the numbers were pretty strong. But if we compare into, Bajaj, where they've been talking about some slowdown in MSME, and plus, the unsecured getting a little bit jittery in the most of the MFI's cases. So in other banks is. So my sense is, I think the largest bank, I think State Bank reporting their numbers, I think this will be the concern for them. And the rest, I think the outlook is more important for them. So I think we should not forget, I think when they just had a good round of QIP and the demand was quite good in that. So I think any weakness in the stock in case of could be a temporary, and I think the valuations looks very, attractive at this price as well. So, and what we also believe, I think, in terms of, I think the BFSI segment will continue to do well. So my sense is, I think, important to look at the commentary, and I think that will be the trigger for the stock as well.
All right, so let's watch out for that. But along with that, in some of the other earning candidates, it was Biocon as well that did come out with its earnings, and it seems to be a weak set by the company because if we look at the revenue, though it has seen a jump to 3,942 crores, but the margins, they stand at close to 18.1%, and there has been a decline on the profit as well. 89 crores is what the company has reported, but we can't compare the numbers on a YY basis given the fact that in the same quarter last year, the company had a one-off after they sell a part of their business to Eris Life Sciences. But across the board, we have seen a weaker performance, especially with respect to the generics margins. Even the biosimilar performance was not that impressive. But Sharon, why don't you help us with a chart check on Biocon, because of late the pharma counters have been under pressure. But what are the charts telling you for Biocon?
So Shishri, with Biocon, it's quite simple. You buy at 300, you sell at 400, and you repeat it over and over and over again. So the stock, whenever it comes to 400, I think in the last 2 weeks, I think we gave a sell call on Biocon around 400. Again, it's corrected 10%. And I again expect some kind of correction, getting the stock back to 300, where you'll again see a reversal, taking the stock back to 400. So that's been the whole nature of this stock. It comes to 300, rallies to 400, again corrects to 300 and does the same time. It's an excellent opportunity for a FNO trader to short at 400 and buy at 300. There's nothing else in the chart. It continuously repeats that pattern. It has some kind of support, I think, today around 350 odd level. I think if it breaks that, expect the 300 odd mark coming very fast in the stock.
All right, so that's the strategy coming in on Biocon, buy at 300, sell at 400. But along with that, apart from a disappointing set, believe that the street will be looking out for a positive management commentary in what kind of a growth that the company is looking for some of the recently launched products. As recently, the company got US FDA approval for insulin aspart, and that is expected to be further deepening their presence in the US insulin market, expected to be a big opportunity for Biocon. So positive commentary on that front could be taken positively, but let's watch out for that. But along with that, in today's trading session, all eyes will be on Bharti Airtel as well, as there's expected to be a block wherein promoter is expected to sell a stake worth 0.8%. The deal is likely to be at a discount at 3% versus the current market price and yesterday's close. But Rahul, given the fact that the earnings have been quite resilient for Bharti Airtel, and along with that, we have seen a kind of outperformance in Bharti Airtel on a YTD basis as well. Do you believe if the stock is available at a 3 to 4% discount, that will be a good opportunity to get in?
So I think the telecom, if you look at the last quarter, was a bumper for the entire sector as a whole. So, and after a long time, we saw a positive in terms of sector profitability, which was delivered in last quarter. And this quarter, if you look at Bharti's numbers also, strong set of numbers. If you look at African operations, domestic, all set, I think margins were in line with what Street were estimating. So I think all a good set of numbers. And what we've seen, this is one of the best performing stock, if I look at it in Nifty in last 1 year. So I think the numbers were strong. And if you get something at 3% discount, as you pointed out. So I think this other stock of 15 to 18% compounding stock for next 2-3 years story in India with the kind of growth and in terms of data as well as in terms of telecom overall in a fiber space as well. So my sense is I think one should definitely look at Bharti Airtel to buy if you get a 3% discount from the current price.
Okay, so sounding optimistic on Bharti Airtel. Let's focus once again and talk about some early dates and Cummins India. Let's talk about that because the company did come out with a very strong set of earnings and it's beat versus the street estimates as well. Especially if you look at the revenue, that has seen a jump of almost 26% on a YY basis, and versus our estimate at ET now, there's been a beat of 12% rather. When it comes to EBITDA, a 20% beat versus our estimates, and along with the profit as well, it's a 40% jump on a YY basis is what the company has reported. And along with that, when it comes to the management commentary, though they are cautiously optimistic, but they're also highlighting that the India economy seem to be stable and the growth will be aided by the infra push, and the rate cuts that recently happened will also help the growth of the company. The global policy uncertainty remains to be a near-term risk. But Rahul, just wanted to have your take on Cummins India specifically, because of late all these cap good companies were a little hammered, but look at the move in Siemens, look at the move in Cummins. These MNCs are definitely moving one way upwards. What's your sense on Cummins specifically, and what's your reading on the numbers?
So I think if you look at one of the companies back-to-back 2 blockbuster quarters from Cummins India, if you look at last quarter numbers, pretty strong on quarter in December versus if you look at the March quarter, and again March versus the June quarter, if you look at it, a strong set of numbers in all round beat. And as you rightly pointed out, if you look at the capital goods as a sector, then I think it has been muted and it's been done nothing if you look at 1 year perspective as well, or a last 6 months perspective. So Cummins, I feel that the strong set of numbers, I think one of the stock I think one should definitely have in their portfolio for allocation in capital goods. So my sense is I think one should definitely look at post those numbers.
Okay, so Cummins looking attractive, even though it has continuously reported good numbers for back-to-back quarters, like Rahul was just mentioning, still looks attractive. So that is a bullish outlook coming in for Cummins. But Sharon, give us a chart check on Cummins India, because